This video is brought to you by mywayteaching.com.
In this part, we are going to study a new chapter. The name of the chapter is Mechanical Properties of Solids. So, in this particular chapter, we are going to study about the different mechanical properties of solids. So, the first part is introductory part, elastic behavior of solids, stress and strain, Hooke's law, stress strain curve, elastic moduli, applications of elastic behavior of materials. So we are going to study about all these different properties in this particular chapter. So let us begin with the introductory part. See, in the previous sections, we already studied about the rotation of bodies, isn't it? Rotational, translational motion of our bodies, and even we realized that the motion of a body depends on how mass is distributed within a body. Okay, motion of a body, it mainly depends on how mass is distributed within a body. A rigid body generally means a hard, solid object having a definite shape and size. So, rigid body is nothing but a body which is having a definite shape and size, isn't it? So, but in reality, bodies can be stretched, compressed, and even bent. Even the appreciably rigid steel bar can be deformed when a sufficiently large external force is applied on it. If you just take a steel bar, even though it's a rigid body which is having definite shape and size, we can bend it. When we apply a large external force on it, it will deform, isn't it? So, this means that solid bodies are not perfectly rigid, isn't it? From this, we came to know that solid bodies are not perfectly rigid. A solid has a definite shape and size. In order to change, or we can say, in order to deform that solid body, the shape or size of a body, in order to change the shape and size of a body, we should apply force, and a large amount of external force is required. If you stretch a helical spring by gently pulling its end, you just take a helical spring and you just pull the ends of that string. The length of the spring increases slightly, isn't it? So when you leave that ends of that spring, again it regains its original size and shape. So the property of a body by virtue of which it tends to regain its original size and shape when the applied force is removed, is known as elasticity. And the deformation caused is known as elastic deformation. So in case of the spring, we applied an external force, then that length of the spring slightly increased, but when we leave that both the ends, again it will come back to its original shape and size. That's called as elastic deformation, and the property of the body which tends to regain its original size and shape when the applied force is removed. That property of that body is called as elasticity. Okay. However, if you apply a force to a lump of mud, they have no gross tendency to regain their previous shape. You just take a mud and you apply a force, it will deform. But when we remove that force, that mud will not take its original form, isn't it? Original shape. They get permanently deformed. So we call such substances as plastic, and this property is called as plasticity. When we apply force to this mud, once it is deformed, it is finished, means permanently deformed. It cannot regain its shape again. So this type of property is called as plasticity. And the substances are called as plastic. The elastic behavior of materials, that is really very important. It plays an important role in engineering design. You just for example, while designing a building, knowledge of elastic properties of materials like steel, concrete, etc. is essential. The same is true in the design of bridges, automobiles, ropeways. So in all these cases, the elastic property of the solid is very much important. When we are constructing a building, we should have that idea how much force it can resist so that it will remain in its original shape and size. If it gets deformed, then that's a very dangerous thing. So in all these designing cases, it's very important to know the elastic properties of solids. So now let us study elastic behavior of solids. See, we know that in a solid, each atom or molecule is surrounded by neighboring atoms or molecules. So, in solids, we know each atom or a molecule is surrounded by the neighbor atom or molecules, and even they are tightly bound, isn't it? These are bonded together by intermolecular or interatomic forces, and they stay in a stable equilibrium position. As I told you, they are tightly packed and they are attracted by the intermolecular or interatomic forces, and they stay in a stable equilibrium position. When solid is deformed, the atoms or molecules are displaced from their equilibrium positions, causing a change in the interatomic or intermolecular distances. See, when the solid is no, when it is deformed, there may be a change in the molecular, what we can say, the positions, and it will also changes the equilibrium of the solid. So there may be a change in the interatomic or intermolecular distances. The distance between the molecule can be changed. When that deforming force is removed, again the interatomic forces tend to drive them back to their original positions. So first there will be the all the solid atoms are no, they will be in equilibrium position. Whenever a force is applied, the this arrangement, it will change. Again, when we remove that force that is applied, the interatomic force, they'll attract all the atoms towards no, in the original position. Again, they move towards their original position. The restoring mechanism can be visualized by taking the, see this figure, model of spring ball system. Here, balls represent the atoms and spring represents the interatomic forces. So, in this particular case, you can see balls here and the spring here. And these balls, you just think they represent the atoms. Okay. And the spring, it represents the interatomic, or you can say intermolecular force. In this case, it is interatomic. So this is the spring ball model for the illustration of elastic behavior of solids. If you, in this particular example, if you try to displace any ball from its equilibrium position, the spring system tries to restore the ball back to its original position. So you just move this ball somewhere, you want to displace this ball to any other position, here, somewhere, any other position. This spring, again, it will attract that ball to the same position because of the restoring force. Thus, elastic behavior of solids can be explained in terms of microscopic nature of the solid. Okay, elastic behavior of solid can be explained in terms of the microscopic nature of the solid. Robert Hooke, the name of the scientist, English physicist, performed experiments on springs and found that the elongation, that is nothing but the change in the length produced in a body, is proportional to the applied force or load. So he found that the elongation, or we can say the change in the length, when we pull the two ends of the spring, the length will be increased, isn't it? So that change in length we can call it as elongation. And this elongation is directly proportional to the force applied. Okay. In 1676, he presented his law of elasticity. Now it is called as famous Hooke's law. So he presented his famous Hooke's law in 1676, and this law, Boyle's law, is one of the earliest quantitative relationships in science. It is very important to know the behavior of materials under various kinds of load from the context of engineering design, which means when we put when we change the load, the amount of load, how that property of that particular solid will change. That's very important. So, up to what load it can resist that extra force that we are applying. So, not only this Hooke's law, even the Boyle's law, these two laws they say about these properties of solids only by he performed the experiment under by taking different amount of loads. So, we are going to study about these two laws in detail in the coming parts.